What's good, y'all? It's your boy Tacho here, and we are back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. Alright, so today we got the announcement in the notifications for the upcoming Fates Hall of Forms. So, pretty interesting stuff. It looks like it's mostly going to be the Adrift units. So, we have Adrift Camilla, Adrift Corrin F, Adrift Corrin M, and then randomly the Summer Dancing Xander. So, pretty decent selection of units, I guess. And what we're going to do today is just go ahead and talk about what skills you may want to inherit on them, especially if you plan to buy the Forma Soul pack and end up picking one of these units up. Now, honestly, none of these units really stand out to me as units who you definitely want to have laying around in your barracks. But of course, one of them in particular can actually offer some really nice utility if you're interested in that. And that is the Dancing Xander. So I think he might not be a terrible choice if you want to go for him. But it is $30 to get the Forma Soul, and I don't know if I would really consider the Dancing Xander worth $30. But it's entirely going to be your call. What you could also do is just buy the Forma Soul pack and just buy it for the orbs, and then hang on to that Forma Soul for one of the upcoming Hall of Forms events instead. I'm sure we're going to get way better units in the future, so it might not be a terrible idea to save. But if you just want to go for it now, then here are my recommendations for skills for the units. And we're going to start things off with the Summer Xander. I think he is the best choice out of these options. And the main reason why is because he's got this really fat defense stat. So if you build him the right way, there is a pretty decent chance that he can avoid getting hit by Milla's isolation in Aether Raids. So this makes him a decent option for a dancer. But we already got the Dancing Eldigan, and he's free to play and very easy to merge up. So it's probably a better idea to just invest in that guy. But if you want to go for this Xander, then he could also pull off the same thing. If you take a look at the example build on the left, I was a little bit cheeky there, and I gave him a Sacred Seal as well, just to drive home how well off he is defensively. So with the Fortress Defense 3 Sacred Seal, giving him +5 to defense, and with Pumpkin a Box with the Defense Refine and Fortress Defense and Res 3, his defense stat can jump up over 50 with absolutely no merges or flowers or anything at all. So I think that's a pretty good benchmark for his defense to be at. And at this high defense, it's going to be very hard for Milla to actually isolate him. It gets even worse if you have Hell on your defense team and she's providing the +5 defense from her Darkness Blessing. So pretty solid stuff. This Xander also happens to be a dagger unit, and there's no end to good daggers for inheritance. So it's really pick and choose which skills you want to give him. Of course, he comes with Dusk Uchiha, which is effective against cavalry types, and it has Hardy Bearing built in. So you wouldn't want to give him that or Caltrop Dagger. I think Cloud Myogi or Sky Myogi would be pretty solid options if you want something else. Both of them have Hardy Bearing, of course, which is really clutch in Aether Raids against Vantage opponents. Kitty Paddle might not be a bad weapon either. There's so many mages going around that are just so OP. Like Zane, for example, that we just got. Also, Brunya is pretty popular. So just having effective damage on them could be nice. But as usual, Broadly Fan is a good option for these dagger units. As far as passives go, he defaults with Close Counter. And thanks to his super high defense, you could play him with a bait build if you wanted. I don't think Close Foil would be that bad of an idea, because he's going to gain Close Counter against physical opponents. And with the +5 to attack and defense, that should be pretty nice for tanking. Sturdy Impact could also be a good option if you want him to player phase and just hit the foes hard and survive their counterattack. And then possibly queue up some Wings of Mercy shenanigans. The B slot is pretty much just going to be all support. Like any dancer, he just wants to support the team. You could have him fight though if you wanted and give him Special Spiral. And it's nice because he can instantly just ramp into Ruptured Sky with that. But otherwise, support skills definitely the way to go. Chill Attack and Speed is a nice support option. As is even Pulse Tie if you want him to stop infantry pulse setups. Sudden Panic is nice as well if you can get his HP pretty high. which shouldn't be too hard since you're going to be getting blessing bonuses from him if you're running him in Aether Raids. And Disarm Trap could be a sneaky good option too if you want to have dance support and have him avoid getting hit by traps. It's also great for testing traps yourself, and you can just have him walk over a trap and reposition out of the way. So definitely not a bad option. And for C-slot skills, I mean, pretty much any of the joint drives are going to work out just fine. Infantry Pulse as well, if you can get his HP high enough, just like I said with Sudden Panic. And of course, Infantry Pulse, very good for dancers to have in Aether Raids, so you can set up your other units with specials. Times Pulse could be nice too, and you could actually quickly charge into Miracle with this guy if you build him the right way. So with Times Pulse and Ouch Pouch, you could get -3 special cooldown count right there. And from that point, you just have to run the Quicken Pulse Sacred Seal, and anytime he initiates combat, he could instantly have Miracle ready for the foe's counterattack. And if you combine that with Sturdy Impact and negate the foe's follow-up attack, he's pretty much guaranteed to survive no matter what. So again, just another option to go with if you wanted to run him with Wings of Mercy tactics. But this Xander has a ton of utility options to go with. He's just really versatile overall, and I don't think he's a terrible option if you want to pick him up. So definitely not a bad unit to consider. Alright, next up we're going to be talking about the female Corrin. And there's really not all that much of a difference between her and the male version. The female has a lot more speed, while the male one has more attack. So pretty much just pick whichever one you like better. There's not really going to be all that much of a performance difference between them. And they also have the exact same perf weapon as well, which grants -1 special trigger and then +5 to attack and speed if you have more allies within 2 spaces than there are foes within 2 spaces. So it's definitely one of the better breath weapons. But I gotta be honest, guys, they really shafted these 2 dragons on this round of Hall of Forms. Had they just waited one more round, or at least for the next version update, we would have had access to all the new dragon skills we just got on the Halloween banner. So of course, Diginsia's Breath, which has Lull, Attack, and Res 5. That would have been awesome as an inheritable option for these units. And of course, breath weapons have been so starved for inheritable options that we really don't have too many good things to pick up in Hall of Forms for them. Also, Dragon's Ire for the B-slot skill, which is basically null follow-up with quick repost built in. That would have been a really good option as well. So it's a little unfortunate that we got these guys right away after the Halloween banner dropped, and they couldn't wait just one more season to actually have access to those new dragon skills. But I guess it doesn't really make that big of a difference. As far as weapons go, Lightning Breath or Glittering Breath, pretty much the only 2 inheritable breaths that are going to see play. I guess Water Breath isn't too shabby either. But of course, Water Breath is very easy to get from the Grand Hero Battle Kana, so I wouldn't recommend picking that up. For the assist, you're free to take Harsh Command Plus or any Rally Up Plus. But just be aware, this Corrin defaults with Rally, Attack, and Speed Plus, so you probably don't want to take that one. And for specials, I mean, dragons are so starved when it comes to specials that we don't really have too many other options. Aether is actually very good though, because their main weapon has -1 special trigger. So I do think that's going to be their best option overall. And for passive skills, I think Distant Counter is definitely going to be the way to go on both of them. It's going to combo very nicely with their perf. And I would say having -1 special trigger is definitely way better than having +1 special trigger from Lightning Breath. So if you want these 2 to have Distant Counter as an option, I think you definitely want to go for the passive as opposed to the weapon. But if you do want to go for Lightning Breath, then all of the stat boosting options are going to be very good. Any double stance level 3 is going to work just fine. And Attack and Speed Push 4 and Attack and Speed Solo 4 could both be good player phase options too. And you can really stack their attack and speed very high with their weapons. So definitely not bad there. And for the B-slot, I think this is where they're going to be the most variable. There's a lot of good B-slot options you could give them. Lull skills, of course, are very good. Lull, Attack, and Res is probably the best combo, I think. But since dragons have adaptive damage, it's never going to be a guarantee that you're going to target Res anyway. So maybe Lull, Attack, and Speed is a little bit better. Null Follow-Up is a very good option, of course, for dragon units. And Special Spiral, I think, is a pretty good option too. especially with the -1 special trigger they get from their weapons. So it can make it really easy for them to actually activate Aether in every fight. And Sudden Panic as well, if you want them to just stack HP really high and then be able to inflict the Aversa effect on the foes. That could be a decent support option too. And finally, for the C slot, pretty much any joint drive skill, once again, is just always going to work. But Pulse Smoke could be a good option too if you want them to bait. And Times Pulse is also really good. Times Pulse and their main weapon with the -1 special trigger, combined with Special Spiral, is going to make it really easy for you to activate Aether. So that's definitely a plus and worth looking into. And for the male Corrin, there's really not all that much difference. Like I said before, they're basically the exact same unit, with one having more speed and one having more attack. But another thing to keep in mind is that this Corrin actually does default with null follow-up, so you don't have to worry about giving that to him. Otherwise, though, they are basically the exact same in how you would want to build them. And last, but definitely not least, we have the Adrift Camilla. I feel like, depending on how you argue it, you could actually make a case for her being better than both of the Corrins. She's definitely got a whole lot more utility in Aether Raids as an offensive threat. Flying units with ground orders are just really good in that mode, and it's easy for her to just set up a rally trap and then get danced, possibly by Legendary Azura, who could grant +5 to everything, and then have her just smack someone really hard with the Blade Tome. But overall, I would say Aversa is probably a little bit better, and Aversa is free-to-play mergeable, and I think a lot of people already went for the +10 on Aversa. So a little unfortunate for Camilla, but still she does have access to some great skills being a flying type unit, so I definitely wouldn't underlook her as an option. Now, as for weapons, I think Rower Fox is probably the best bet. It's still one of the rarest red tomes you can get, and it basically does the exact same effect as her main weapon. It's going to inflict -4 to all stats on the foes if she initiates combat, and you can refine it to take plus speed, which is definitely nice. For specials, she has access to Ruptured Sky, so that's absolutely what you want to go for. And for the A-slot passive, I think Sturdy Impact is probably the best way to go, but she's not really all that fast, so something that raises speed might be a little bit better. Attack and Speed Push 4 and Attack and Speed Solo 4 definitely come to mind. But Steady Impacts could be a good idea too, because you're just going to gain +7 speed and still have the 10 defense, and negate the foe's follow-up attack. So as long as you're confident that she can hit really hard, then that might be the better option. And Close Foil, even though it sounds like a bit of a meme, I think it actually does have some situations where it could be cool on her. And for B skills, this is definitely where flying units are the most starved, especially a ranged flyer like her. She can't have Guard Bearing or Dive Bomb or any of the new good stuff that we got for flying units. But we do get Speed and Res Snag, which could be nice. And Double Chill skills could also be a good option for debuffing. And finally, the C-slot passive. I'm not sure if Attack and Speed Rain is actually going to be in Hall of Forms yet, but if it is, that's definitely what you want to take. These Rain skills are super good, and I feel like they're the only C-slot passives that can really compete with the Joint Drives. But if it's not there, then of course Joint Drive Attack, Joint Drive Speed, those are going to be your bread and butter options. But also, Camilla is a flying type unit, so ground orders and air orders are also on the table as options. And like I said earlier, they are very good for Aether Raids, just to set up those rally traps. And that's going to wrap us up for the skills for this round of Hall of Forms. Let me know in the comments section down below which one of these units are you the most interested in, and which one do you plan to build up. For me, I think I am going to go for Xander, but I haven't decided yet if I'm going to pick him up with the Forma Soul. I might just buy the pack for the orbs and then save the Forma Soul for later. But I will think about it, because, of course, Xander's defense being super high like that is going to cause some trouble for Milla. So anyways, that's going to wrap us up for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed the builds for the units and the discussion about their skills. And as always, this is your boy Tacho signing out. So take care, everybody, and I will catch you guys again on the flip side.